Welcome to Human Potential at Work, the show where we explore social impact, inclusion, and empowerment of everyone, including persons with disabilities. Get ready to be inspired, hear success stories, and learn tips and principles for bringing out the best in everyone. And now, here's your host and CEO of Rue Global Impact, Deborah Rue.
Hello, everyone. My name is Deborah Rue, and this is Human Potential at Work. Today, I have Lamondre Pugh joining us again. Lamondre is my colleague and my business partner. He is the Chief Sustainability Officer for Rue Global Impact, and he's amazing at it. But he also has another position that we want to talk to you about today. And this is really, we are very excited we've talked about this a little bit on air, but we're going to really dig into what we're doing. And we have created a nonprofit called Billion Strong. And Lamondre has very kindly agreed to be our Chief Executive Officer of this new organization. We are in the process of creating content for the website, and I've reached out to partners all over the world, and we're going to talk a lot about it. We're going to talk to you about what we're doing with Billion Strong. So Lamondre, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Deborah. It's always great to be with you on Human Potential at Work.
And I forgot to mention you're Dr. Lamondre Pugh too, because I'm always very stoked about that. But Lamondre, do you mind, in case our audience haven't seen some of the past episodes that we've done with you, tell the audience a little bit about who Dr. Lamondre Pugh is?
I'm really just a little country boy from Columbia, South Carolina. That's really about it. No, I am a longtime advocate for people with disabilities, and I am a person with a disability. I have spinal muscular atrophy and have worked for quite some time in terms of diversity and inclusion, not just amongst people with disabilities, but honestly for a number of different diversity groups, and really trying to promote and push and expand our concept to go from just diversity to creating environments where people actually belong, where they have a sense of belonging, where their input, their thoughts, their insights, their whatever it is that they bring to the table, that it's valued. And honestly, it in a nutshell, it's about making the world a better place. I know so often we say things like that, and it sounds so pie in the sky, but the truth is that's what this journey is about. It's about making this world, this experience, this journey, a better journey for those who are coming behind us. And so that's what I've committed my life to. That's been my life's work. And I am so fortunate and so blessed to have people like Deborah, like you, along the way with me on this journey. And so that's it. That's me in a quick nutshell.
Yeah, there's a whole lot more to him than that. But I know I also, like you, have made this work my life's passion. And I certainly did it. I was in the banking industry for many years, but my first child, who's going to be 34 years old the day that this airs on April 19th, we celebrate the birthdays. She believes in celebrating the birthday month.
As she should. I'm with her on that.
That's right. It's April, all month long is Sarah's birthday. But it is interesting to watch to just look back at the journey that I've had. I know it's interesting, must be interesting to you for you to look back with your journey. And I know the first time I met you, I was so impressed with you. And you worked with me at Tech Access. And then you went and you're an entrepreneur, so you started your own business. And we reconnected a few years ago, and you very kindly agreed to come and join us at Rue Global Impact. But the reason why we want to talk about why we're doing Billion Strong and what does it mean? And so just telling the audience a little bit, one thing that I'm always, as a strategist, and I consider myself a futurist, because I'm always thinking about what can we do to make the world work better for more people? As Lamondre said, what can we do to really change the world for the people that are living in it now, the people behind us, generations coming up? And I think we've done a lot of good work in our community of getting corporations interested in including us, getting organizations focused on accessibility. There's a lot of work that's being done all over the world. There's a lot more that needs to be done, but I think there's a lot to celebrate. And so I was actually thinking and pondering about the demand that we've created. So you have things like the Valuable 500 with Dr. Caroline Casey, an amazing, CEOs committing to include us. You have work that's being done around the world by disability inclusion groups, disability persons organizations. The UN's heavily engaged with helping. There's a lot of work being done, but it doesn't feel like the community has come together in a real meaningful way. And so I really believe that an organization focused on identity is critical, a place where we can come and we can talk about our lived experiences with disabilities. We can share with each other. We can make sure that we're telling the stories of what's happening around the world, who's doing what. And by the way, that's what Rue Global Impact has been doing for years. But now we're going to do it a little differently. And Lamondre, you mentioned that you're a man with lived experience with disabilities, because if people can see and they're watching this video, they might not realize that. Now, I know when somebody meets you in person, they're going to see that you're using a wheelchair. They're going to see, and once again, assuming that they can see, but why do you think it's so important, Lamondre, that we all come out and embrace, if possible, our lived experiences with disabilities?
Well, I think it's important because it's a part of who we are. It is a part of who we are. When we talk about the term identity, the thing that I think we have to remember is that identity is a two-way street. It's not only the way that the world sees you, it's not only the way that you show up in the world, but it's also how you see yourself and how you identify as a being, period. So I think it's important that we identify and how we see ourselves, simply because it's really a declaration of who we are. It's a declaration of what we are. And one of the reasons that this gets so complicated sometimes is because in general, society has seen disability as a deficit. It has seen disability as something wrong. It has seen it as a weakness. It has seen it as a curse. When the truth is none of those things. I'm not broken. I'm not a curse. I am not less than. I'm not inferior. I am not weak. In fact, there are over 1 billion people on this planet that have some form of disability, whether it's visible or invisible, whatever. It's over 1 billion people on this planet. And the reason I keep stressing the over 1 billion people is because we recognize that's probably considerably low when you really look at how the numbers pan out. And 1 billion of anything is a huge number. So what that tells us is that there is strength. And if we came together, if we organized, if we really began to stand and speak as one voice, then we could really see things change in our favor. It's great. The movements and the things that have happened, the initiatives that are out there, the organizations that are doing things on behalf of people with disabilities. That's wonderful. All of those things are necessary and it's needed in order to move the needle. But what is also needed is that there is an internal movement within the community of people with disabilities that says, this is who we are. These are our issues, and we're not leaving anyone behind in this mission. All of us are together. So here's the thing. Again, it sounds pie in the sky. It sounds huge, and it is huge. It's a huge undertaking, but it's necessary, and it is possible. It is possible. It can't be where the Western world moves forward while the rest of the world lags behind in terms of people with disabilities. We're in this together, and we cannot simply look at it from a singular lens. Again, it goes back to identity. So often, I think of those that I look up to, the Dr. Martin Luther King, who says, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And so my thinking is this allows us to come together, and more than a concept, more than a project, this is a movement. This is a movement to make change. And so this is why identity is so important, because this is an identity movement. It is a movement that says we're here, we're strong, and if you don't see it, we're going to show you.
Said. And I know that when I was worried, once again, we're starting to create demand. Corporations, employers want to hire us, but we're hearing a lot that they can't find qualified people with disabilities to do their jobs. And we know that many people, if they can hide that they have a disability, they're going to, because once again, as you said, society has labeled people with disabilities as broken, which is ridiculous. We're humans. And when so I've talked to a lot of people, and I have advice like this, Lamondre. Don't start in the States. Just do it everywhere but the States. And so I live in the States. Don't worry about everybody else. Just focus on the States. That's another advice. Just focus on the States. Nope. Because I have brothers and sisters outside the States. No. And also sometimes every other group, other communities, sometimes there's a lot of infighting in our community. There's a lot of infighting. And so one thing that we wanted to make sure was that we're not going to step over anything anybody else is doing. What we actually want to do is we want to celebrate what everybody's doing. And by the way, that's what we've been doing at Rue Global Impact for years. And that's what you were doing at your companies when you were on your own. We are telling the stories of what's happening. We're telling the stories so that we can demystify disabilities and we can empower people with disabilities. And so we feel like we've already been doing this. And so now we're just going to be doing it through Billions Strong.
Absolutely.
And as Lamondre, there are over 1 billion of us, according to the World Health Organization. 1 in 7 of us have a disabilities, but countries that are doing census have stepped forward and said the numbers we have more than that, because I know in Canada, the UK, Australia, Europe, I believe, no, for sure, but there's some others. They're saying 1 in 5 people in their countries have disabilities. And in the States, we are saying 1 in 4, according to our CDC. 1 in 4, that's 25% of our population.
Right.
And that's 1 in 4 adults have disabilities. And so we believe the numbers are much higher than the World Health Organization actually can gather, because still some countries, quite a few countries, don't do census. So I wanted to say that. But Lamondre and I both felt it was very important that everybody be included. And I got counsel of start with certain disabilities. You're trying to do too much. Don't try to boil the ocean. Why don't we try to boil the ocean and have a movement, as you're saying, Lamondre? I think it's so important that everybody be included. So what I've done, because I've been in this field so long and I'm a networker and I have a lot of contacts, is I've started reaching out to countries. And we have a lot of countries engaged.
Right.
We have a lot of countries. We have India, we have China, we have Bangladesh, we have Ghana, there's just so many. It's very exciting. And our goal, and we will meet our goal, is to have somebody that is a partner and an advisor in every single country in the world. Because what we want to do is we want to make sure we're showcasing what is being done in the countries. So if I'm a person with a disability in Panama, what's being done in my country? So we want to highlight the work of what's being done by our community, our brothers and sisters. And we also want to make sure that we're working with other diverse groups. Let's partner with Black women engineers to make sure they're celebrating Black women engineers that also have disabilities. And you had mentioned a little bit about that, but I remember it's interesting to look back, even our journey together, Lamondre. And I remember we've talked about this on air when I said to you, and it was meant very complimentary and in a kind way, I don't even see your disability. And I remember what you said to me, and I'm going to let you tell the audience what you said.
Yeah, basically what I said to you is, first of all, I did recognize that where it came from a place of love, but what it actually indicates is that, yeah, I see something wrong with disability. Not saying you did, but that's the indication. Because you are talented, because you bring value to the table, you can't do that and still be a person with a disability. That's actually what is being said. So I don't see your disability. In other words, I don't see the deficit. I don't see what's broken. I don't see what's wrong. And my response was, but I need you to see all of me, because with that talent, with that gift, with that value, I'm also bringing my disability to the table as well. And it's all a part of me. It's all a part of who I am. And honestly, that's what this is about. This is about the recognition of the entire person. That it's not just that we're going to leave this part in the closet, or we're not going to talk about this part, or we're just going to close this part off because that part is not valuable to me. When the truth is, it is a part of what informs how I even see the world myself. Now, it is not the sum total of how I see the world, but it certainly is a contributing factor to my view. So, in order for me to be wholly valued, in order for me to really come to the table with all of me, you have to see that as a part of who I am. In fact, I'm quite proud of it. I'm quite proud of it. Just like I'm proud of the melanin that blesses my skin, just like I'm proud of the heritage that my family built coming from South Carolina. I'm proud of all of that. And honestly, I want it all on display. When I show up, I want all of me to show up. And what's so interesting about that, you said so many beautiful things just a few moments ago. And I started thinking about some of the advice that you got. We're just starting the States, or only focus on these particular groups, or just do that. And that's because we have been fighting so hard to be considered, quote, normal, unquote, that we have a tendency to push away those things that make us different, that makes us unique, that makes us individuals, only to strive for what is norm, only to reach out for what is in the middle. And whenever you reach for what's in the middle, what ends up happening is you have to cut away those things that don't fit the norm. So the advice of only start here means that, oh yeah, so go back to the norm. Or only work with these groups. Oh yeah, so go back to the norm. And that's because we're fighting to get there. When the truth is, progress happens in the margins. Progress happens in the areas that are not considered the norm. And so that's why we're doing this. And here's the thing. We have been so conditioned with a sense of scarcity that we're clamoring for the same piece of the pie, when the truth is, it's not a piece of the pie that we want. It's that we all have our own bakeries. We can bake our own pies. So I don't have to worry about your pie. In fact, I want to bring my pie to the table so that we all can taste of it. And this is a difference in how this organization will approach things, how this movement will approach it. Because it's not about coming in and duplicating what others have already done. No, it's about saying, hey, there is great work going on here. I want to tell all those people over there about the great work you're doing.
Right.
And I want
we've
people.
Been very consistent.
Absolutely.
We've been consistent with you.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. That's what this is about. So it's not about, oh, well, it seems like somebody else is already doing that. The truth is, this is not what somebody else is already doing, because no one has ever approached this, number one, from a global perspective. And number two, no one has ever really approached this from a global perspective that says, you know what, this is who we are. This is who we are. Not what you do for us, and not for the cause that you've taken up, but this is who we are. This is 1 billion people strong. Billion strong. And so that's why this is different. And honestly, this is also a different approach in terms of how we even think about ourselves. You talked about some of the internal infighting. A major part of this organization is to overcome the internal ableism that we have in the disability community. And that's a big bill. That's a big bill. So yeah, it's very different. It's very different. And I know I said a lot in that, but it's a very different movement.
Important. Yeah, it is important, and because I had one of our advisors. We have hundreds of advisors from all over the world, because once again, this is a global effort. And so somebody said, "Oh, there's this company doing this." I'm like, "Yay! All right, let's make sure that we talk to them so that we can share their content, because we want to share what everybody's doing. We also want to focus this from the perspective of an individual with a disability, an individual with a disability from a professional lens. If supporting you with professional development and an entrepreneurial lens, because we know there's a lot of entrepreneurs with disabilities, and we want to include our allies and our accomplices as well. But we want to be, there's a lot of fussing and arguing that goes on in our community. Somebody said to me, Deborah, you don't look like you have a disability. Okay, I actually have a lived experience of disability. I also am a mother I have a daughter with lived experience with disabilities, and I am a wife of my husband who has a very serious disability now. He's aged into with dementia. And so we want to include our accomplices, and we want to include our allies. But I also want to tell you something else that we're doing that Lamondre and I just love. We get so excited about this part of it. So once again, we are bringing in country partners. And if you are in the disability field and you're doing something in your country, please contact us. Please contact us, because we are determined to make sure that we have presence in every single country, so we can tell the people in those countries with disabilities what is available to them. And then we can look for gaps, and we can work with our corporate partners to make sure they know where the gaps are. And organizations, amazing things like the Valuable 500, with 500 corporate CEOs working with Dr. Caroline Casey to really make sure that we're included. We have to be able to find the supply part of the supply demand. So one thing that we are committing to do at Billion Strong is we are committing to be very deliberate about what we're doing. Why did we make Dr. Lamondre Pugh the CEO? Because he's talented, he's qualified, he has lived experiences, he understands the nuances, he looks at these things from a global perspective. He is also, it's just beneficial to us that he is part of multiple minority groups. It's just beneficial because we can't just look at diversity and inclusion from one lens. Let's just take care of women. No, let's take care of Black Lives Matter. No, okay, why don't we all be deliberate about including everyone? So that's important, but I'm teeing him up to this point. But we are going to use the community. So what do I mean by that? So for example, we have hundreds of wonderful partners already that are being like, no, this is a great idea. We need to do it. Let's work all over the world. But our team has created, David Perez, our chief financial officer, has created 5 logos. So we're going to take these 5 logos and we're going to pass it out to our partners. And we're going to say, which of these logos do you like best? And we're going to choose a logo. But it's going to be a temporary logo, because just like the content on the website, and we're working on getting the website up. It's www.billion-strong.org. But it's not live when we're taping it, but we're working on getting the content out there. But we're not going to put a ton of content out there, because we want the community to work with us to get the content out there. Yes, we're going to do a temporary logo that we let our advisors select. But then what we're going to do is we're going to do a campaign where we go out to artists with disabilities and we ask artists with disabilities to design a logo. We're going to highlight them and their logo, the logo they created on our website, and we're going to let the community vote on it. And what they will win some technology equipment, maybe some money. What we don't want to do is what's always being done. Oh, you're doing stuff for people with disabilities. You should do it for free. No. Stop it. We're talented. We bring something to the table. So we're committing that we want to only employ people in this organization that have lived experiences with disabilities that they're willing to come out about, because remember, we're an identity organization. So all of the content, all of the coding, all of that, we will be using programs like Deaf Kids That Code and Women That Code, but we're going to use our community because we have a lot of talent in our community. So we're committing we're only going to use talent with disabilities for everything we're doing. And so I think we're also different there. But Lamondre, why do you think it's so important that we as a community support our community getting all this stuff done, but also making sure that others know about the talent that is in our community?
It's a sad frog that doesn't praise his own lily pad. Okay. So that's the first thing. That's a very sad frog. And so, and I want you to really understand this. First of all, we are looking for the best artist. We're looking for the best and brightest professionals. We're looking for the best and brightest minds And those best and brightest minds will be people with disabilities, period. And the reason that I make that distinction, first of all, because this is not just the fact that, oh, we're only looking for artists with disabilities. I need you to understand something. We're looking for the best. We're looking for people who probably have not necessarily had the opportunity to show the world what they can actually do or what they bring to the table. So this will be us highlighting that. And I will tell you, as CEO, it is my mission for everything that we need in terms of vendors and everything else to first look for vendors with disabilities that can fulfill those needs and in any area of what it is. And this is how we're going after this, because here's the thing. If we don't show it, if we don't demonstrate what it is, how can we have a real impact anywhere else? And I'll be honest with you, one of the main things for me with this is about economic empowerment. This really is about economic empowerment for me, because here's the thing. We can have all the kumbaya moments all we want. And I love kumbaya moments. I have them all the time. That is just who I am. But until we can see real economic empowerment, until we can really see financial changes for the community of people with disabilities around the world, then we're just having kumbaya moments. The goal of this is really to help people find their own empowerment and move forward. So even that part of it, the competition with the logos and all of those things, that's a part of it. These things are necessary. So our goal is to not only do this, but to make it sustainable. And the only way that we can make it sustainable is to create this loop, create this thing of, hey, it's identity. Hey, it's about education. Hey, it's about professional development. Hey, it's also about economic empowerment. Hey, it's about changing society. Hey, it's helping people realize that we need to share information, because one of the things that I really want to stress about this organization also is this is also about creating a space where the community can really speak to each other, where the community can really share information in ways that we haven't been able to do so before. Prime example of this, when I was a child, I didn't see very many people with disabilities, even though I was a child with a disability, had an obvious disability, and I certainly didn't see them doing things out in everyday life. Everyone else did. And it wasn't until I was probably about 9 or 10 years old that I saw a man who used the wheelchair driving a car. I didn't realize that was possible for me until I saw him. I didn't realize that was something that could have been my reality until I saw him. And I will tell you, sometimes you don't believe that it's possible for you until you see someone who is in a similar situation as you doing the same thing. That's what this is us. This is us saying, hey, this person in Indonesia is doing this. And that person in Kenya says, wow, I didn't know that was a possibility. So you mean I can do that too? Or that person in Kenya doing something, and that child in Syria saying, wait a minute, I can be educated? Or that child in Syria saying, hey, I can be educated, and them doing something, and that little boy in the U.S. says, whoa, didn't even know that was possible for me. That's what this is about. This is how we make the engine move.
I agree. And I just want to say, there's so many things that we're going to do. We're going to do master classes with people with lived experiences with disabilities. We have already created a really powerful mentoring program. But representation matters. People with lived experiences matter. During the COVID-19, we had more Americans self-identify as having disabilities than ever before, because they finally realized in these circumstances why it would be beneficial to them to ask for an accommodation or something. And I do not mean that in a negative way, because we have been discriminating against people with disabilities all over the world. I understand why, if you can hide it, you might hide it. I understand. But now it's time to come out and be proud of our differences. And there's so many cool things we're going to do. We're going to work with our country partners to make sure that they have funding opportunities. And you want to do this? Oh, that would be cool. Oh, Jordan would maybe like to do that as well. Or maybe we could do that in Guatemala. So we're going to all work together, and we're going to have the hard conversations. But I'll just give you an example of something I thought Billion Strong was already in place. We could have done it. In the United States, for example, we're not the only country doing this, but we're not prioritizing people with disabilities that need to be prioritized for the COVID-19 vaccinations, for example. And so in California, they weren't prioritizing. So were a lot of other states. I know in South Carolina, Lamondre was seeing that the caregivers were being vaccinated, which we totally agree with. We also believe that caregivers and job coaches, we need to elevate those professions and fight for them to be paid and to be, there's so many things that we can do with this group. And so Lamondre actually went on the news in South Carolina and talked about how the caregivers were getting vaccinated, yay, but the people that were being cared for, like Lamondre, were not being prioritized. So after the governor heard him on the news, he changed it. And now people with disabilities are being prioritized. Think what we could do if we had this group of us, the community of people with disabilities, and they're really looking at the definition of the CRPD, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and the Americans with Disabilities Act, since we haven't ratified that convention yet. But what would it look like if we all came together and fought for each other and made sure we were all included? Education, technology, things are accessible to us. There's just so much power we could do, but just think what we could have done with that particular thing. So it's very important that the community support the community. We're 1 billion people strong, as Lamondre said. And so if we supported each other, think of the ecosystem we could build to really change the world. And once again, we don't want to duplicate what anybody else is doing. So if you're doing something really cool and you want us to highlight it, and I also want to mention that we are not charging for membership. So we want everybody to join us. It will be free to join, and we will have programs on there to support everything that we think is important in the world. But we want the community to tell us what to do. I'm going to be the chairman of the board. So for the first 3 to 6 years, I'll be on the board. But after that, I'll roll off, because this is a gift from me to the community. And I will, of course, continue to support everything that's being done, but you're in good hands with Lamondre. Dr. Lamondre Pugh is the smartest man that I know in the world. So he's got this, and he's a wonderful asset to what we're doing. But I know we're almost out of time, and you have to speak at another event. So let me turn it over to you to have the final word.
Absolutely. Thank you, Deborah. And Deborah, I have to say thank you for the service that you've given, not just to the community of people with disabilities, but really to humanity. Because when I think about what Billion Strong represents, when I think about the mission that we have set out to accomplish, this really is about elevating this human experience. It really is about bringing all of us together. It just so happens that we focus on the community of people with disabilities. And that's what we can do. That's our part. That's what we bring to the table. Billion Strong is an organization that's by people with disabilities, for people with disabilities. And this is a movement that seeks to unite, that seeks to educate, and that seeks to elevate. That's what Billion Strong is about. And I am honored to have the opportunity to lend my experience, my expertise, and my insights in bringing this forward. But more importantly, I am passionate about moving us forward as a community, moving us forward as a world. And this is an invitation. This is an invitation to everyone listening to come along on this journey, to roll up your sleeves and work with us to move this forward. Again, this is not about duplicating. This is not about taking someone's pieces of the pie. In fact, this is about building the bakery so you can have your own pie. That's what this is about. And I'm honored. I'm honored to be a part of this. So check us out, billion-strong.org, billion-strong.org. And yeah, we're ready. Let's go.
And once again, we're getting the website up, but we're doing it very slow and deliberately because we want the community to tell us what to do. We don't want to we of course have our opinions of how you would do it, but we want the community's voices to be heard. We'll have a place for consultants to talk about the work they're doing. We'll have the corporations telling us what they're doing for us. Maybe we'll have job postings from employers in the future. Once again, though, we'll be using partners. We'll be making sure everybody's included. So if you have a job board, we'll make sure the job board's on there so that people can see it. We don't want to step on anybody. We want to bring us all together, and we want to make sure that we really focus on identity, talk about the hard topics like what language should we be using for the community, things like, there's so many things that we can do. But we are here to make sure that we are bragging about what all the different things are happening all over the world. So we're very excited, and we hope you join us. We are looking for volunteers to help us. Whenever we start hiring, we will make sure we put that out there. But we are really excited about this. We think this is a game changer, and you're in wonderful hands with Dr. Lamondre Pugh as your CEO. So
Thank you.
let's do it.
Thank you.
All right. So billion-strong.org. And if you check and we're not up yet, it'll be up within hopefully a couple of days. But we're going to try to get something live before the show comes out on April 19th, 2021. But join us. Let's change the world. So thank you so much, Dr. Lamondre Pugh, and special thanks to Doug Foresta, our producer behind the scenes, that just keeps us doing all this, moving forward, and really having impact. So thank you so much to everybody, and we'll talk soon.
You've been listening to Human Potential at Work, brought to you by Rue Global Impact. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you consume your audio. To learn more about Rue Global Impact and the services we provide, visit rueglobal.com. To learn more about how you can become a sponsor of Human Potential at Work, email David at rueglobal.com. That's David at rueglobal.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back next time with a new episode.